Greetings and highest blessings. In this now, we are going to contemplate the relationship between Swissindo and the United Nations with a study document entitled, Why the United Nations Has No President. That is why Swissindo exists. The question was posed by Bapak Sugi, and an enthusiastic team set out to answer the question. The following is their findings. Before the UN was the League of Nations from 1919 to 1946. The forerunner of the United Nations was the League of Nations, an organization conceived in similar circumstances as today, although during the First World War, established in 1919 under the Treaty of Versailles to promote international cooperation and to achieve peace and security. The International Labour Organization was also created under the Treaty of Versailles as an affiliated agency of the League. The League of Nations ceased its activities after failing to prevent the Second World War. The concept of a peaceful community of nations had been proposed as far back as 1795, when Immanuel Kant's Perpetual Peace, a philosophical sketch, outlined the idea of a League of Nations to control conflict and promote peace between states. Kant argued for the establishment of a peaceful world community, not in a sense of a global government, but in the hope that each state would declare itself a free state that respects its citizens and welcomes foreign visitors as fellow rational beings, thus promoting a peaceful society worldwide. The first schemes for international organization to prevent future wars began to gain considerable public support, particularly in the United Kingdom and the United States. The League held its first council meeting in Paris on the 16th of January 1920, 6 days after the Versailles Treaty and the Covenant of the League of Nations came into force. On the 1st of November 1920, the headquarters of the League was moved from London to Geneva, where the first General Assembly was held on the 15th of November 1920. In 1939, a semi-official emblem for the League of Nations emerged, 2 5-pointed stars within a blue pentagon. They symbolized the Earth's 5 continents and 5 races. A bow at the top displayed the English name, League of Nations, while another at the bottom showed the French Société des Nations. Purpose of the League of Nations. Its primary goal was to prevent war through the principle of collective security, disarmament, open discussion to replace secret diplomacy, self-determination, and negotiation and arbitration. Another purpose underlying the international activities included the eradication of individual smuggling, drugs, arms trafficking, war criminals, and the protection of minorities in Europe, and the improvement of global health. The reason why the League of Nations was dissolved and the United Nations became its extension. In practice, the League of Nations was not able to solve the problems of great importance towards the development of world peace. As a result, the League of Nations failed to prevent the outbreak of World War II in September 1939. The League of Nations formally dissolved itself on April 18, 1946, and transferred its mission to the United Nations. United Nations was registered in Batavia, now Jakarta, Indonesia, on the 17th of August 1945. The name United Nations, coined by United States President Franklin D. Roosevelt, was first used in the Declaration of the United Nations on the 1st of January 1942, during the Second World War, when representatives of 26 nations pledged their governments to continue fighting together against the Axis powers. The Charter of the United Nations was signed on the 26th of June 1945 by 50 countries in San Francisco, California, at the conclusion of the United Nations Conference on International Organization. Poland, which was unable to send a representative to the conference due to political instability, signed the charter on the 15th of October 1945. The charter stated that before it could come into effect, it must be ratified by the governments of the Republic of China, France, the USSR, the United Kingdom, the United States, and by a majority of other 46 signatories. This occurred on the 24th of October 1945, and the United Nations was officially formed. The Statute of the International Court of Justice is an integral part of the Charter. In December 1945, the U.S. Senate and the U.S. House of Representatives, by unanimous vote, requested that the UN make its headquarters in the United States. The UN accepted this suggestion, and after considering sites in the Black Hills, Flushing Meadows, Corona Park, Navy Island, and what would in the future become the World Trade Center site, decided to construct the United Nations headquarters building in New York City in 1949 and 1950 beside the East River. The United Nations headquarters officially opened on January 9, 1951, although construction was not formally completed until 1952. Why the UN was registered in Batavia, Indonesia. The United Nations was registered in Batavia, which is now Jakarta, Indonesia, with the UN approval number MISA 81704 on August 17, 1945, and the UBS UNPRI, which is UN Principle for Responsible Investment, held by Swissindo. The first president of Indonesia, who was also caretaker M1, I.R. Sukarno, funded the United Nations organization with Exhibit B Obligation Certificate UBS 17 SBG with a value of over $500 billion. This was for a maximum period of 70 years, ending on the 17th of August 2015. The United Nations organization was launched in San Francisco on the 13th of February 1946. Now, President Sukarno backed the UN because he had the ultimate purpose of taking the world back to basics, which is an essential foundation and moral code for all, where responsibility, truthfulness, accountability, dignity, diplomacy, respect, honor, compassion, non-greed, non-stealing, non-endangerment, and selfless service to others. In 1948, the United Nations adopted Back to Basics in a resolution entitled the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, whereas recognition of the inherent dignity and of the equal and inalienable rights of all members of the human family is the foundation of freedom, justice, and the peace in the world. From the north, east, south, or west, the doors of Neo, the United Kingdom of God, Sky, Earth, are open to all men, women, and children of all nations, peoples, and organizations. All creatures are universally accepted, and all of nature, together with its natural environments, are protected and included as the ecosystem of the kingdom. UN Goals and Principles. A. UN Goals. 1. Maintaining international peace and security. 2. Developing brotherly relations between nations. 3. Creating cooperation in solving problems of economic, social, cultural, and human rights. 4. Making the United Nations a central effort in realizing the common focus of the above goals. B. UN Principles. 1. Based on the sovereign equality of all its members. 2. All members must comply with their sincere obligations as stated in the UN Charter. 3. All members must resolve their international disputes by peaceful means without endangering peace, security, and justice. 4. In international relations, all members should avoid the use of threats or violence against another country. Has the United Nations fulfilled its purpose and goals? Just look around. It has been 70 years since the United Nations was founded, but we still have wars that are being created by corrupt leaders to benefit themselves, and banking cartels which destroy world peace. We still have hunger that comes from the lack of protection from tyrannical and greedy governments. We still have governments and banks that create more lack in their people by robbing them through the monetary slavery system and unnecessary taxes. To date, it seems that the UN needs a lot of help to bring us, the people, closer to the solution, which is world peace. Missing records. There are no records of President Sukarno's involvement in the United Nations to be found in UN official or unofficial documents that show anything related to President Sukarno being the chief of the UN Council Board or the original UN registration being in Batavia, Indonesia on 17th of August 1945. Strangely enough, official records only show that on the 28th of September 1950, Indonesia became a member of the United Nations, resigned on August 20th, 1965, but on 28 September 1966, Indonesia once again became a member of the UN. And yet, while performing a search, there is a UN multimedia photo with a top caption reading, President Sukarno, UN Secretary General. As well as can be seen in the official record below, there is no record of President Sukarno as UN Secretary General. The list of UN Secretary Generals goes from 1946 through 2007, beginning with the Norwegian Secretary General and ending with the South Korean Secretary General Ban Ki-moon. So it's no surprise that when searching for truths, we find that our history books and much internet information is strangely changed or omitting true occurrences. What now is President Sukarno and President John F. Kennedy's connection to Swissindo? In 1963, the Green Hilton Memorial Agreement was signed by Indonesian President Sukarno, President John F. Kennedy, and William Volcker as the Swiss state and bank witness in Geneva, Switzerland. The triangular agreement was signed at the Hilton Hotel in Geneva on the 14th of November 1963 as part of the U.S. government acknowledgement of the existence of gold bullion from Indonesia, which was to be used as collateral for the U.S. financial world to issue gold-backed U.S. dollars in order to continue to facilitate international trade. The operation was to be conducted by the Swiss government through UBS, the Union Bank of Switzerland. The potential of this agreement led to Executive Order 11110, which provided the Department of U.S. Treasury the power to issue United States dollars instead of the Federal Reserve. On the 22nd of November, 1963, 8 days after signing the Green Hilton Agreement, United States President John F. Kennedy was assassinated. The authority granted to the U.S. Treasury was never carried through. The intent and purpose of this agreement was to free the American people from the banking cartels' tyranny and the debt slavery system in which humanity is still caught up in today. This freedom was to lead to the financial freedom of the entire world. With the death of President Kennedy and the house arrest of President Sukarno, this plan never came to fruition. It was, however, the framework for the international cooperation that has now resulted in the Swissindo World Trust International Orbit Mission. Swissindo is now carrying out President Sukarno and President John F. Kennedy's mission and taking it global. Who is Swissindo's leader now? Please note, the following names and titles are names of entitlement, rights by divine and physical inheritance, proof of ownership, position, authority, scope of purpose, proof as legal asset holder, master and ultimate sovereign over global assets. Another thing to note is that within Swissindo documents, one comes across words and names that on the surface don't make sense. Big top presidents, for instance. Know that these titles and documents are translated from Indonesian. Indonesian, similar to Sanskrit or Hebrew, is an ancient language where the mere pronunciation of words, the very sounds, are creative, sacred sounds with deep meaning and nuance. To translate such depth into what is a relatively young language like English, well, there's sometimes difficulty in getting the point across. So the recommendation is this. Upon hearing unfamiliar usage of English words, use the heart to understand the meaning of the words, the depth of their meaning, instead of the common surface meanings, which at first sounds out of place. So here we go. As of 2001, His Majesty Mr. A1 Sino ASS2 IR Sogi Hartono Tonegoro ST M1 Royal K681 is the big top president of Swissindo World Trust International Orbit, NEO, the United Kingdom of God, Sky, Earth, and owner states M1, with the absolute title as the authority to veto, as licensor, world executor, accelerator and successor. M2 is some M1, where M2 is the total value of all cash and global assets. M1 is also the holder of the patent license agreement for printing of world standard legal payments with certificate codes 99.98 series 1 through 4, the USA-Swiss Consortium International Transmissions, the Financiers Consortium International Indonesia, the UN Principle of UBS UNPRI responsible for investment in global access trends in gold 65, and holder of certificate of cash M1 QR 154321 CO 003496 JM London AZL 18 AS 1344 Exhibit AB with confirmation letter UBS number UNS AG SBG 6118045 RS DRS 017 2001 to 14. As a single trustee and holder of the global assets and collateral accounts, he has engaged in this mission to return to humanity what was stolen from us: freedom, prosperity, and equality for all nations and people of the planet. What is Swissindo's mission and goals? Mission. Swissindo World Trust International Orbit aims to free humanity from financial and physical burdens of the slavery systems, reconnecting to nature, back to basics and back to source, creating spiritual awareness and aligning heaven to earth through implementation of payments 1 through 11. Swissindo World Trust International Orbit, NEO, the United Kingdom of God, Sky, Earth, is a non-profit humanitarian organization that wishes to present to you a world solution gift offer of payments 1 through 11 of the construction of the universe for the people of the world in 253 of 357 countries. Swissindo World Trust International Orbit's mission is to return the world's freedom and inheritance back to the people, to every man, woman, and child in this world. Patent license agreement authority will be given to all countries accepting the payments 1 through 11 for printing their new legal gold-backed S2O currency. Exhibit AB 1. Exhibit A is a UBS gold certificate with inventory list of 255 SBG, which are SKRs or bank safekeeping receipts, with an initial value of almost 5 billion kilograms of gold bullion. Number 2. Exhibit B is a UBS Platinum certificate with inventory list of 29 SKRs with an initial value of over 3 billion kilograms of platinum. Also in number 2 is Exhibit B, UBS Obligation Certificate with inventory list of 17 SBGs. Now, recall that this is the certificate which originally collateralized the UN in 1946 with a value of over $500 billion and expired in August of 2015. Number 3. Recognized Good Delivery Producer with holder of certificate QR 154321 CO 003496 JM London AZL 18 AS 1344 with platinum volume 70 billion kilograms. Recall this number in the Swissindo leader section above. 70 billion kilograms. Notice Exhibit B of 3 billion kilograms is worth $500 billion. How much is item 3 worth at 70 billion kilograms? My calculator doesn't go that high. Total global collateral, 78 billion kilograms of precious metals. This is the why. This is the reason that UN-Swissindo exists. Payments 1 through 11. They are 11 types of payments to different entities on the planet. In summary, the payment order 1 through 11 to 253 out of 357 countries. It will support the governments of the world with the implementation of a country quota of $139 trillion for governments to begin to do what they were meant to do, which is serve and protect their people and citizens. Plus a central bank quota of $139 trillion so people can live in abundance and prosperity with free education, health care, natural energy, and free from taxes. Plus a personal debt relief up to a total maximum of 2 billion Indonesian rupiahs. As of December 2015, this is approximately $150,000 for personal debt. This will allow each person the freedom to focus on their well-being and follow their purpose in life. Plus a human obligation of $6 million per person, plus a basic income of $1,200 per month for the rest of their lives. Students will earn a basic income of $600 per month. This way, each individual can live the life we were meant to have. One of the primary projects Swissindo plans to fund is the Venus Project, a global resource-based economy where all goods and services are available without the use of money, barter, credit, debt, or servitude of any kind. This is for the construction of the universe, a redesign of societal living. Mr. Jacques Fresco, the mastermind of this magnificent project, which represents the culmination of his life's work, to bring about the integration of the best of science and technology within a comprehensive plan for a global society based on human and environmental concern will soon be ours to enjoy. To quote Jacques Fresco as interviewed on TV by Larry King, 1974, the entire money structure and materialistic society is a false society. Our society will go down in history as the lowest development in man. We have the brains, the know-how, the technology, and the feasibility to build an entirely new civilization. One of the basic premises of the Venus Project is that we work towards having all of the Earth's resources as the common heritage of the entire world's people. The age-old inadequacies of war, poverty, hunger, debt, environmental degradation, unnecessary human suffering are viewed not only as avoidable, but totally unacceptable. Diversity, individuality, creativity, innovativeness, those are the essentials of the designs. Problem-solving, incentives for dynamic equilibrium. Now we are on the journey towards the solution. But there is no president in the United Nations organization. The UN Secretariat General tasks are to take care of all United Nations activities, prepare the organization of the meeting of the UN main bodies, and to make an annual report on the activities of the United Nations. The UN President's tasks are to give direction and provide the overall vision, mission, strategy, goals, and sense of direction for the organization. He is the spokesperson, representative, the external liaison for the organization. He forms, tasks, guides, leads, and manages an organization sufficient to accomplish the President's responsibilities and the strategic plan of the business. Leading, guiding, directing, evaluating the work of the executive leaders of the organization, the Presidency has the duty to supervise the implementation of the overall policy of the organization. He will closely collaborate with the General Secretary in carrying out the overall activity of the organization and making timely progress toward the fulfillment of its strategic plan. He ensures decisions are made in a timely manner and then translated into meaningful actions, holding appropriate parties accountable for success. As stated in the United Nations Charter Preamble, we, the people of the United Nations, are determined to save succeeding generations from the scourge of war, which twice in our lifetime has brought untold sorrow to mankind, to reaffirm faith in fundamental human rights, in the dignity and worth of the human person, in the equal rights of men and women and of nations large and small, to establish conditions under which justice and respect for the obligations arising from treaties and other sources of international law can be maintained, to promote social progress and better standards of life in larger freedom, and for these ends, to practice tolerance and live together in peace with one another as good neighbors, and to unite our strength to maintain international peace and security, to ensure by the acceptance of principles and the institution of methods that armed force shall not be used save in the common interest, and to employ international machinery for the promotion of the economic and social advancement of all peoples. Since there is no president of the UN, through payments 1 through 11, UN-Swissindo will aid the UN in completing the tasks to bring about peace and prosperity for all people and nations. This will enable the UN preamble to be achieved fully. His Majesty Mr. A1 Sino ASS2 Sogi Hartono Tonegoro ST-M1 is committed to serving humanity for peace and prosperity, and he would like to offer support to all countries in these difficult times. He therefore invites you, the people of all countries, to join us in this new world agreement, so you may benefit from our programs, payment 1 through 11, country quota, and human obligation, which can provide a basic income for all, along with funds to support all humanitarian projects which are for the good of all. We are confident that true peace can be secured through fair and equal opportunities for all. It is time for us to live in love, peace, prosperity, and harmony as one big family. return to the people the life that is divinely intended for the highest good of all. Swissindo, World Trust International Orbit, NEO, the United Kingdom of God, Sky, Earth, is the perfect answer for the world peace solution. By Her Majesty Annie Forrest, Her Excellency Hien Tai, His Excellency Dennis Collar, Her Excellency Jenny Kimpton, His Majesty Emil Ames Njana, and Her Excellency Roxanne Hull, and narrated by His Excellency Mark Villalobos. 22nd of December 2015. Footnote by Her Majesty Annie Forrest. Einstein was writing about a single world government at the time he wrote this, quote, "I do not know how the Third World War will be fought, but I can tell you what they will use in the fourth, sticks and stones." Unquote. Albert Einstein described a chaotic capitalist society, a source of evil to be overcome as the predatory phase of human development. This he did in 1949. We are at the final stage of that phase of human development, and we are at the brink of the next phase, the new Earth, where all kingdoms, including human, animal, plant, and mineral, live on the planet in harmony and respect under divine law, where all are one. Blessings be.
This is an open letter from you and me together. Tomorrow's in our hands now.
Find the words that matter, say them out loud, and make it better somehow.
Looking down from up on the moon is a tiny blue marble. Who'd have thought the ground we stand on
Could be so fragile.